Hey everybody, this is Erica from the Classy Climb blog. I'm coming to you tonight talking about America's next boom towns, and I'm doing this one because of Forbes, right? So Forbes is like 8 years behind on the fact that Austin, Texas is a boom town, right? And that's just what's hilarious because they're always saying Texas, Texas. But usually when they talk about Texas, they talk about Dallas and Houston. They don't talk about Austin because Austin's fighting off the hordes of hipsters coming from California and tech people coming from California and New York already. And from what I see, South Carolina and a lot of Ohio. Um, and I've been out in Austin about 4 years now, and I was in Killeen, another part of Texas, for an additional year. So I spent the past 5 years in Texas, technically. I would say 4.5, basically. But what's funny to me about the Forbes article, nonetheless, is here's a picture of Houston. Houston ranked in our top 10. What's funny about it is I'm going to give you the overall review in my mind. All right, I'm putting this page up so you guys can go find it, go look it up for it. It's talking about the Lone Star State model, how basically Austin, Texas, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, they're very different, I promise you. Austin is like college town, hipster weirdness. San Antonio is more of a family town, and it's more military, more family oriented, tourism. Dallas, Fort Worth is more like cowboy country, and I say Fort Worth is more cowboy country, where people in Dallas house their horses. And Houston is just a complete international city. I mean, it is the top international city. If you ever want to fly out the airport, sometimes you get on an airport, get an airplane, and it's full of Koreans or full of Japanese or full of Islanders. It's an interesting experience. Houston has a really great vibe to it. Now, and this article talks about several other boom towns, some cities in California. But let me tell you something. I do not recommend California. No matter who I talk to, people on the East Coast or people that live near California are like, I'm going to move to California because it's some dream or something that's on TV. Everyone I've met from California is like, I can never return to that place. Or they lived in Northern California and was like, the cost of living is so utterly ridiculous. I just moved. I couldn't take it another day. I don't care what this article says. San Francisco, San Diego, everyone I've met is like, no, no, no. And I'm even going to do a video about Inglewood versus Austin, Texas, East Austin, Texas. Another thing. In the article, it talks about fading powerhouses, right? Like ones that used to be the big nice names and people would want to go, and that's New York, LA, and Chicago. And to me, those are the same reasons. Taxes too high, regulation too high, housing's too expensive, and Chicago overall. To me, everyone I meet from Chicago is like, regulation is killing me. And then there's a half of the city that's on fire, basically, and and they can't do anything to control it. Every summer you'll hear about in one weekend, several weekends, 40 to 100 shootings. Now, what's interesting about that in Chicago is the fact that Houston, Texas has the same exact demographics. So prepare yourself. If you're coming from Chicago and then you come to Houston, be like, wow, it's just as much diverse, just as much as an international city, just as many black people. The difference, I believe, is job availability, a high number of guns, a high number of NRA memberships of Black and Latino people. A lot of people are just they don't have time for that. They're busy working, they're busy living, and they just do not have time for the bull crap, okay? So I think that's the difference, where Chicago has these isolated centers where it's freaking freezing, 10 months out of the year, and, now you got to catch all these buses or a train, and you got to go all the way across town to go to work for a low-paying job, when in Texas, you may work the same $11 an hour job, but at least you have your car, and you can get over there relatively short, 15 to 30 minutes. It's a difference. The environment, the weather makes a difference. I know a lot of people hate Houston's weather because it's very, I would call it, they say on the surface of the sun, underneath water. So apparently the humidity is very tough there. Every time I've gone, I have big curly hair. It hasn't totally bothered me, but I can feel the humidity in the air. It's pretty thick. So another one. What's funny is the flyover superstars. And to me, if you're not this New York, LA, Chicago kind of person, and you've lived enough to travel, maybe if you're a military kid like me, Raleigh, Charlotte, Salt Lake City, and Denver are these standouts, right? They call them flyover superstars, along with Austin, because these are areas people would just fly over. They wouldn't notice it. But if you notice, Raleigh and Austin have the same exact demographics, They also are both tech hotspots. They both have tacos, and it's very nice. The difference to me is Raleigh is much more affordable. Raleigh has, many, 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 many tons of homes, 150,000 and under, in comparison to Austin, which is just like cram city, and you have to go out to the edges to live. Okay, so and you have like 10 colleges in a circle. UNC, NC State, you name it, it's around there, and there's games, there's hockey, there's baseball. It's a very international city, even though they call it a flyover. Its population is similar. If you do the surrounding area of Raleigh, is similar to Austin, which is funny. I think Raleigh has a week 160 people moving a week, and Austin, Texas has 168 people a day. So imagine that amount of growth. That kind of throws you off there, of course. Same with Salt Lake City with the Mormons. Denver, Denver is like on fire. It's real estate's kind of on fire, partly due to the weed boom, and the other part is just lack of real estate. Their real estate is just going crazy. So those are my kind of recommendations. I would never pick California for any of these. They're just a waste of time, money, cost, waste of time. Go visit them. Don't go live. I would say flyover superstars: Denver, Salt Lake, Raleigh, Austin. These are some of your best choices. You're going to be able to have some semblance of living in Salt Lake, some semblance of living in Raleigh, some semblance of living in Austin as well. You just have to have a game plan. Denver, it's going sky high, but you can still make it work. Okay, so what is it about these boom towns, right? It's jobs, it's a lot of jobs, because once people come in with high tech jobs, they pay 100,000, 150,000. Well, those same people want to go eat at Chipotle, they want to go to McDonald's, they want to go to a lot of little restaurants and bars. It's very much a migration thing, right? Because what happens? A lot of other young people, I'll give Austin as an example, they come for South by Southwest, they love the weather, 300 days of sunshine is the same thing that Denver tells people they have 300 days of sunshine, but I heard it's not that true. 300 days of sunshine. They have taco food trucks everywhere. It's very a hipster vibe, very young people vibe. It's a great city. It really is. And so what happens is people who may not be in tech move there. They move there. They look for opportunity, and you have some of the townies who have to get moved out because of the cost of living is just skyrocketed. Now, when I worked in the apartment industry in Austin, what was interesting to me was the fact that we'd have people come in and we go, "Do you have a job?" "No, but I sold my house in California." And I go, well, show us your bank statement or show us a copy of your, just a bank statement or your income or, something of the other. So people would come in there with bank statements where they sold a house in California and have $300,000, $400,000. Not uncommon. And so what happens, whether they have bad credit or not, we'd rent them an apartment. You know what I mean? We rent them an apartment. Same goes for housing. A lot of people are like, they're cash buyers. They're cash buyers. All these people are cash buyers. Well, if you sell a house in California for $500,000 or more, then you come all the way to Austin and you're seeing a house for 285. Well, not only do you have enough money to buy that house, then you have enough money to buy another rental property or some other deal, or just live really well for the next couple of years in Austin. Because now, you've literally cut your cost of living in half, if not that. And I've worked at some newer complexes where the rent was $1,800, and we'd have people come in from New York, Chicago, California, and they would go, "This is a deal. I mean, it's 3 bedrooms. It's huge. Oh my gosh, I take it immediately." And we'd laugh because we go, most people think this is expensive, and they go, "This is half of what I would pay in those reflective states. I mean, just half." And they loved it, And so, but there is a kind of thing to Austin where you do have a lot of artists that still live there, a lot of artists that, this is their home, and it's still got that vibe where they can still be an artist, still live in a pretty cool town and not have to move out. Now, one of the things, I don't know if people have noticed, but Houston did lose a ton of people to oil and gas recently. As gas prices drop, as oil issues are happening, I think they lost about 10,000 to 15,000 jobs around Christmas. So, move to Houston, sure. I mean, 2,000 people a day move to Houston. It doesn't show how many move out. Same thing with Austin, 168 move a day. But I promise you, I worked in the apartment industry. Many people would be like, I'm just homesick. I'm going back. Um, and that sucks. So here are my top five kind of reasons you should move to a boomtown. Okay. One is opportunity. Opportunity is important. You know, when you go somewhere and there's an abundance of jobs, I moved to Austin and I think I applied to 30 jobs. On the second day, the day after I applied, I had over five job offers. Now, were all these jobs excellent, glorious jobs? No, some of them were kind of slack in between jobs. But I was just shocked at the immediate callback, the immediate, we need people, we need talented people, we're ready for you to go. Right? So depending on where you're at, let's say you're in sales. I think it's one of the best. If you're in real estate, if you're in any type of car sales, if you're in any type of sales period in Austin, you're loving it. Okay. And many of the other boom towns, Denver, I'm pretty sure Denver, Salt Lake City, Raleigh is like that. Charlotte, especially. Charlotte's real estate has taken a giant boom. You know, that's also been helped by the Carolina Panthers. That's also been helped by Bank of America moving a big headquarters there. That's also a lot of people from Atlanta, a lot of people from just other areas moving to Charlotte. It's just cost of living is just wonderful. Um, so again, number two reason, like-minded individuals. Now, what happens when I would go out in Austin and I'd be like, hey, and they're like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, North Carolina. Hey, I'm from South Carolina, or I'm from somewhere. Rarely did you meet people who were from Austin. Okay, why? Because they grew up there. They went to college in Aggie Land, which is A&T, Texas A&M, if you don't know, or they went to Waco for Baylor, and they kind of stayed in those areas, or they went somewhere else, you know. So it was rare to meet people who were actually from Austin. I met a few, but even they had moved away for college. So by the time they came back, the city had changed so much. They were just like you, looking at an area with these like bright eyes, right? Number three, new town, new you. I mean, it's not uncommon for people to be in a small town and maybe they've messed up or had an accident or something has kind of followed them and they've kind of burned a bridge or two. But you have an opportunity here where you move to a new town and you can apply for any job you want. Now, I will be 100% honest with you. Being where I'm from and my family and the businesses they own, and I would just be stuck working for my family's businesses. But once I got to Texas, I realized I can work anywhere. I can do anything. I am unhinged and unlimited here. I can test my hand to see if I am strong enough to make it in this type of city. Now, you know, I had no ups and downs, but I did try many different types of jobs. Ultimately, I'm just more of an entrepreneur, so I had to kind of focus on what was best and live in the cheapest place possible so that I could kind of grow my business on the side. Number four, learn and return. Okay, so this is a thing. Some people hate it, but ultimately, a lot of people who move to these cities, under 5 years, they move. It's like a transient city. Houston, more people stay a little bit longer, I think, but Austin, Dallas, I'm pretty sure Denver's like this. I meet people all the time who are like, yeah, I was living in Nashville. Oh, well, Nashville, I forgot. It's one of the things on the list. Nashville's a great city. Nashville's amazing. So Nashville, I meet people who are like, yeah, I lived in Nashville for 5 years. Now I'm going to live here for a few years, and now I'm going to move to Memphis afterwards. It was not uncommon to meet very many transit people like that. And what I would say is they learned and returned, right? So if someone moved back to Kentucky, South Carolina, now that they've seen Texas or they've seen taco stands or they've seen certain type of stores like H-E-B or they have techniques or things they've seen that work there, they could take them back home and make them work on a smaller level. I know a girl who opened up a boutique in Nashville. She was originally from Nashville, lived in Austin, realized that the cities are very similar, wanted to be back near family. So you know, she took what she learned and kept on moving. South by Southwest, a lot of volunteer opportunities happen in Austin. So what happens is a lot of people um, use those volunteer opportunities to get new jobs, right? And once they've got the new job, then they're like, I'm ready to move on again. You know, that's that type of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. So they learn and return, right? Or they learn and move, however you want to strap that. Okay, So, number five, enjoy the ride and give it 100%. I cannot tell you how many times I would meet people who were just depressed, sad. I'm moving back home. They only been there a year, and I go, "What happened?" You know, a lot of times they use the excuse of, "Oh, I'm an East Coast person. I'm a this. I'm a that." I am a strong-willed North Carolina girl, and I love North Carolina to the gills, right? But also, I know if you don't get invested, I would say meetup groups.